Hey everyone, welcome back to everyone watching this video. I'm going to show you another game from the Aeroflot Open. Not much has changed in terms of the tournament leaders for the past couple of rounds, so I thought it would be interesting to show you a game played by one of the game's rising stars. This is a game between Abdusattorov Nodirbek and Eltaj Safarli. So for those of you who are unfamiliar with Nodirbek, he is a 14-year-old Grandmaster from Uzbekistan and he is rated at 2560. He is the youngest player ever to enter into the top 100 juniors, doing so at the age of 11. Safarli, on the other hand, is a 26-year-old Grandmaster from Azerbaijan and he is rated at 2681, so a very strong player himself. Nodirbek had the white pieces and he opened the game with e4. Safarli played the Scandinavian defense. We have knight c3, so black has a few options here. He can go queen a5. He can also go queen d6. Queen d8 is also a possibility, which was what Safarli played. We have d4, knight f6, and here Nodirbek goes for a sideline. He plays h3. The main move is to play knight f3. But we have h3, so that just stops black from going bishop to g4. We have g6 from Safarli, so preparing to fianchetto his bishop. Knight f3, bishop g7, bishop to c4, the most active square for the bishop, looking at this potentially weak f7 pawn. Both sides castled, and here b6. It's not often that you would see a double bishop fianchetto for black in the Scandinavian. We have queen to e2, bishop b7, and here bishop to g5. And with this move, we have reached into unknown territory. h6 played, we have bishop h4, knight c6, rook a to d1, and here knight to a5, attacking the bishop. So the bishop drops back. So we can observe that white is better out of the opening because of his space advantage. I'm not sure if Safarli knew this position when he played the Scandinavian. Maybe he just wanted an original position to work with. He played e6 here. Maybe queen c8 was better, prepping c5 and also stepping out of the d file. So if white plays queen takes e7, bishop takes f3, gives black sufficient counterplay. So instead we have e6, and this is a questionable move since it now creates a pin on the knight, which was immediately taken advantage of by white. Knight to e4. We have rook to c8, so hinting at c5. b4, kicking back the knight while also controlling the c5 square. Knight c6, we have c3, keeping everything nice and defended. And knight back to b8. So this knight has already moved 4 times, which is not a good sign for black. We have knight takes f6, bishop takes f6. You would think that white would play bishop takes f6, trading away his bad bishop, and then maybe play knight e5 and claim that he is slightly better. Black also has to watch out for knight d7 tricks. But instead, white retreated the bishop, bishop g3, and he opted for a different approach. We have bishop back to g7, a strange move, but black is just clearing the way for the knight to come over to f6. Rook after e1, knight d7, and here bishop a6. So this was Nodirbek's idea. He is basically arguing that the bishop on b7 is a better piece than the bishop on g7, which makes sense since this bishop is sort of restricted by white's pawns. And the bishop on b7 could potentially be a dangerous attacking piece for black. So here we have bishop takes a6, queen takes, and c6. So if rook to a8 trying to defend, then d5. And if that is taken, white gets too much activity on the open files. And here rook d1 is also a threat. So c6 was played. in anticipation of queen takes a7. Here black can go rook a8, queen b7 is the only square for the queen, and here queen c8, forcing the exchange of queens. Rook d2 defending, and here rook a4 should give black sufficient counterplay, with the other rook coming to the a file. So here Nodirbek responded with c4, most likely prepping d5, which would give the rooks nice activity. This is looking quite promising for white. This bishop on g3 is also looking pretty decent on this diagonal. Safarli played rook to a8, defending the pawn, which looks a bit passive. Now white has the opportunity to go d5, which looks like the critical move, but instead Nodirbek plays bishop to d6. He goes for another plan of trying to plant the bishop on d6. We have queen to c8, offering a trade of queens, which white declines due to a space advantage. Rook d8, the rook was attacked by the bishop. We have knight to e5, knight takes, d takes e5. Nodirbek managed to achieve his goal, and black can't really play bishop to f8, trying to eliminate the bishop as white can go c5, and this would make life very uncomfortable for black. Here black can never take because that would simply give white a passed pawn. So here a5, trying to get some form of counterplay. We have rook to b1, a takes b4, queen takes b4, rook a6. So far, Safarli is being resourceful and making things difficult for white. Rook e3, queen d7. Now preparing to double on the a file. Rook e to b3, rook d to a8, queen to e1, and your c5 played, which was probably a mistake. Now would have been a good time for black to play bishop f8, because if c5, then black can just go b5, and maybe black is even better here, because this a pawn is soon going to fall, and black is going to have some chances with his b pawn. But instead c5 played, rook takes b6, rook takes a2, queen to e4, a nice centralizing move. And with this move, white now regains his advantage. So there are ideas in the air like queen f3, which attacks f7 and threatens rook to b7. And after queen to e8, then white can play rook to b8, pinning the queen. So here rook to a7 played. I should mention that taking the pawn with the bishop would be a mistake, because queen c7 attacks the rook and the bishop on c5, and after bishop e3, queen takes c4, black is completely fine. So here rook to a7, back to the game. Black defends the b7 square. We have rook to b5. This pawn is about to drop, and white is going to be better. h5 played, king h2, no rush to capture the pawn. f5 from Safarli, a desperate try for counterplay, but simply queen to e3, king h7, rook takes c5, queen to a4. White is now much better with this extra passed pawn, plus the black king is not exactly safe since black has played f5, opening up the 7 rank. The game continued. Rook c8, we have rook b7, queen to d4, rook to b1, abandoning the 7 rank in hopes of counterplay, but now rook c7, and this is bad for black. We have rook to d1, queen b2, preparing to enter on b7, king to h6, and now Nodirbek just sacks the rook. Rook takes g7. We have queen b7, king g8, queen c8. White slowly creeps in with the queen. Queen f8 check. And in this position, Eltaj Safarli resign. After king h7, queen f7 check, king h8, bishop e7, with no defense for bishop f6 checkmate. I hope you enjoyed this game from young Nodirbek. Once again, if you haven't already subscribed, feel free to do so. Thanks for watching and have a great day.